Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel True Crimes. Today, we're diving into a chilling true crime story that spans almost 3 decades. A case that proves that even when hope seems lost, justice can still find its way home. Get ready for The Tampa Mystery, 28 Years Until Justice. Our story begins in 1997, in the sunny, seemingly tranquil city of Tampa, Florida. A place where families lived their lives, kids played freely, and the rhythm of daily existence felt perfectly normal. But all that changed on Church Avenue, specifically house number 5820. Inside those walls, an unthinkable discovery was about to be made, transforming that quiet residence into a grim symbol of one of the most disturbing criminal mysteries the region had ever seen. This is the tale of a brutal murder that lay unsolved for nearly 30 years, a narrative etched by a macabre message written in blood by years of frustrated investigations and by an outcome absolutely no one could have predicted. This is the 1997 Tampa case. When authorities first entered that house on Church Avenue, they were met with a scene straight out of a nightmare. The victim had been brutally murdered, and the sheer violence of the crime was shocking enough on its own. But then, they saw it. Something that would set this case apart from all others. Something that would haunt the investigation for decades. Scrawled across the walls, written chillingly in the victim's own blood, was a message. A sinister signature left by the killer. Detectives, to this day, have never publicly revealed the exact content of that horrifying message, but it immediately became the defining, indelible mark of this crime. A terrifying detail that would fuel local legends and whispered fears for the next 28 years. Investigators meticulously collected every piece of evidence they could find. The scene was photographed from every angle, every detail documented. Neighbors and potential witnesses were interviewed, their memories picked apart for any clues. Crucially, bodily fluids left behind by the killer were found, what seemed at the time like an invaluable clue. But remember, this was 1997. DNA technology, though emerging, was still quite limited compared to today's sophisticated methods. Initial tests were conducted, hopeful they would quickly identify a suspect, but they sadly failed to yield any solid leads. Weeks bled into months. Months inexorably turned into years. Each passing anniversary of the crime brought fresh waves of anguish and agony to the victim's family. The haunting questions echoed relentlessly. Who had done this? Why? And where could they possibly be now? Leads, one by one, began to dry up. Witnesses, over time, moved away, their memories fading with the passage of time. The case, tragically, slowly but surely, went cold. For the police, it became another file in the archive. But for the family, the searing pain of their loss never cooled. Every single day brought the same tormenting, unanswered question. Will we ever truly know the truth? For 28 long years, the murder on Church Avenue remained unsolved. The case file, a testament to enduring injustice, gathered dust in some forgotten corner of the police department's storage facility. Yet, it was not entirely forgotten. Then, in 2021, the case unexpectedly garnered new attention when it was featured on a podcast produced by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Suddenly, listeners from across the country were tuning in, learning the frightening details of the crime, the blood message, the sheer brutality, the profound mystery that had persisted for more than 2 decades. But what absolutely nobody knew, not the grieving family, not the dedicated detectives who had worked tirelessly on the case, not even the thousands of captivated listeners to that podcast, was that the killer was still out there, living a seemingly ordinary life just 10 miles from the very crime scene. He went unnoticed, blending seamlessly into everyday life. He went to the supermarket, perhaps even heard about his own chilling crime on the news, never once betraying the dark secret he held. Can you imagine the sheer horror of that realization? For almost 3 decades, while a family suffered unimaginable pain, while an entire community speculated and whispered, while detectives wondered if the killer had fled to another state or even another country, he was right there, in the neighborhood, hidden in plain sight. Evil, as we would later discover, didn't need masks or elaborate disguises. It just needed time, and the false illusion that some crimes would simply never be solved. But evil, in its arrogance, didn't count on one crucial thing. Science never stops evolving. Fast forward to February 2025, almost 28 years after that horrific murder. DNA technology had advanced in ways that were utterly unimaginable back in 1997. The very same evidence collected decades earlier, those bodily fluids left at the crime scene, could now finally reveal so much more. Investigators, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose and a glimmer of hope, decided to give the cold case one last, desperate chance. The archived samples were carefully retrieved and subjected to the most advanced genetic analysis available. Techniques that simply didn't exist when the crime was first committed were now brought to bear. And then, a monumental step. These highly detailed results were cross-referenced with vast, publicly available genealogical databases. And finally, after almost 3 decades of agonizing silence, the DNA spoke. A name emerged, a suspect. And when detectives checked the address associated with that name, they were simply stunned. 10 miles. Just 10 miles from the crime scene. All these years, the killer had lived there, a chilling proximity to the house where he had committed such an atrocity. The arrest was carried out swiftly and quietly. And then came something few expected, but everyone desperately hoped for: a confession. The suspect not only admitted to the heinous crime, but went on to reveal the motives behind that shocking violence. Personal grudges, deep-seated hidden secrets, reasons that had festered in silence for years until they violently exploded on that terrible night in 1997. The confession brought new, painful layers to the narrative, providing details that only the killer could possibly know. Information that confirmed, without a shadow of a doubt, that they had finally caught the right person. For the victim's family, the news was like waking from a 28-year nightmare. It wasn't that the pain magically disappeared. That kind of wound never truly heals completely. But now, at last, there were answers. There was justice. There was a sense of closure that had seemed utterly impossible for so long. This remarkable case teaches us several profound and important lessons. First, about the sheer persistence of truth. That blood message, left originally as a chilling symbol of terror, ultimately transformed into a symbol of resolution. Evil wanted to leave its indelible mark, but ironically it was that very mark, the undeniable evidence left behind, that would eventually condemn it. Second, this case highlights the incredible, relentless advances of science. The same samples that revealed nothing conclusive in 1997 became the absolute key to the solution in 2025. Technology that didn't even exist when the crime was committed eventually brought justice to light. It's a powerful and hopeful reminder that archived cases are never truly closed forever. With each new scientific advancement, there is always new hope for resolution. Third, it offers a stark, unsettling look at the nature of evil itself. For 28 years, a killer lived among ordinary people hidden in plain sight. This chilling proximity adds a deeply disturbing layer to the story. This wasn't some stranger who came from afar and vanished into the shadows. This was someone from the community. Someone who walked the same streets, frequented the same places, lived just minutes away from the scene of his heinous crime. And finally, this case is a powerful testament to the importance of never giving up. Families who lose loved ones to violence carry an unimaginable lifelong weight of grief and unanswered questions. But this case definitively shows that time, while it heals some wounds, can also work powerfully in favor of justice. Evidence that once seemed useless can suddenly become crucial. Cases that appear impossible to solve can, against all odds, be cracked open. The 1997 murder on Church Avenue in Tampa finally found its resolution in 2025. What was once a message of terror transformed into a profound message of hope. For the authorities, it stands as a clear victory of scientific innovation and unwavering persistence. For the community, it marks the long-awaited end of a mystery that had haunted the region for decades. But above all, for the victim's family, it represents the closure of an agonizing, painful chapter and the courageous beginning of true healing. Because in the end, no matter how much time passes, truth always finds its way. And justice, even when delayed, is still justice. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly impactful story. If you found this deep dive compelling, please hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next case. We'll see you in the next one.